Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Now, as we know, the transfer window is still very much underway, a lot of deals being done, but today we're going to explore on the channel some deals that didn't get done. We're going to go into why and how much this could affect the team missing out on the signing or the player. So without further ado, let's get into it. A rather forgotten one is Mike Moynihan to Chelsea. Now, as we know, Chelsea's goalkeeping situation isn't great. Their goalkeepers aren't the best. Robert Sanchez was one of the most error-prone goalkeepers last season, up there with Muric of Ipswich, which says a lot. And on paper, this deal made sense. You know, Moynihan had, I think, 1 year left on his contract and was available for 15 million. Now, with the money Chelsea have been throwing at players, surely that seemed, a very good deal for AC Milan's number one, France's number one, and overall a solid goalkeeper. But for some reason, Chelsea didn't want to pay the 15, which I think was ridiculous because, as mentioned, they have paid stupid amounts for players. 15 million for a guaranteed, decent, reliable number one. It should have happened. Next, we have a Newcastle target, one of many targets. We have got Hugo Ekitike. Now, as we know, he did join Liverpool for around, I think, 60 or 70 million pounds. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he was originally linked to Newcastle. It looked like it was going to be a nailed-on deal, and Newcastle were going to get one of the most sought-after forwards in Europe. But it didn't happen. Liverpool sort of hijacked it. And I can understand why Ekitike went to Liverpool. The current champions. I think they was offering a lot more wages as well. I think the way it's looking, he's going to be their starting striker this season. Next, let's stick with Newcastle. Now, one I didn't understand, Bryan Mbeumo, obviously was linked to Newcastle, now at Man United. Now, unlike the Ekitike deal, this one I don't fully understand because Newcastle obviously had a lot better season than Manchester United. They were obviously in the Champions League, but I just don't see why it went through. Although I did see Mbeumo say he's watched Man U since he was a kid and it was like his dream club. So, you know what, you can't fault him for that. And I think Man U are probably offering a lot more wages as well. But yeah, that one to me on paper didn't make sense. But when you hear that Mbeumo, he was a big Manchester United fan and everything like that. But yeah, Man U have got a good player on their hands there. Premier League quality. He's proven as well. Good goal scorer, good creator. They could look dangerous next season. Sorry, Newcastle. I'm twisting the knife here. But James Trafford, this was early on in the transfer window. To be honest, looked nailed on. But typical Newcastle, they haven't got the pull. And James Trafford has gone back to Man City. One thing I do know for sure is I think Trafford would have started at Newcastle. Will he start at City? Potentially. Edison's got 1 year on his contract left. He's been linked away. So, yeah, I think Trafford will be a starter for City next season. But he 100% he would have started for Newcastle. Because obviously Pope's very injury prone. He's not great with his feet. Good shot stopper on his day. Let's talk Saudi now. Now, surprising that moves to Saudi fail because obviously the money is the attraction there. We've got Bruno Fernandes. He was offered a massive deal. You know what? I rate Fernandes for this. He could have easily picked the money, but no, he stayed loyal to Manchester United, and I think that just goes to show what sort of person he is. I know he splits opinion as a player on the pitch, but you can't argue that he's a very loyal player. Sticking for Man United at bad times, and just be honest, he's probably their best player at the moment. So yeah, it would have been a big loss for Man United, but they somehow managed to keep him. But yeah, I can't fault Fernandes for that. He could have easily picked the money. I think a lot of people would, but he's decided to stay in European football. Sticking with Al Hilal, Alexander Isak. He's been the talk of the town recently with his stopped move to Liverpool. Although I can still see that developing. Again, was offered a massive wage packet. He would have been like a really big staple name for the Saudi League. But again, I rate it. He's wanted to stay in Europe. He's wanted to probably win some trophies. But again, I'm just confused with why he wants to leave Newcastle. He's the main man. He's being looked at as like a Shearer kind of figure. And he's thrown his toys out of pram. So I don't know what's happened there. Maybe it's something behind the scenes we don't know. But yeah, I respect Isak and Fernandes for their choices to stay. Should we move on to Spurs now? This was a big debacle when it happened. Morgan Gibbs-White. In my eyes, obviously I don't know the ins and outs of the laws, but in my eyes, what Tottenham did was completely fine. They paid his release clause. He should really be a Tottenham player. I don't want to talk about what Marinakis has said to him or whatnot because the geezer terrifies me. I don't know what he's planning. But yeah, they managed to get him on a new contract. But yeah, this one doesn't make sense to me. Again, Morgan Gibbs-White probably would have been a starter at Tottenham, especially now Maddison's done his ACL, he's out for the season. Would have been playing Champions League football. He would have had a good team around him, Kudus, Solanke, Johnson. He would have had a really good team around him. And I'm not saying Nottingham Forest team's bad, but I'm just saying would have been the upgrade, But yeah, they've managed to sort out a new contract, and I imagine there won't be a release clause in that one. Yeah, I would have liked that move to happen. Morgan Gibbs-White to Spurs. I think it would have been a very exciting move. Right, moving out of the Premier League now for these last three. We have got David Hanko, who was meant to sign for Al Nassr but didn't. Now, as you know, I've suggested this guy to the Premier League quite a few times. So to see him now get a move is quite of a big thing for me. Atletico, I want my finder's fee. Yeah, the reason with this one is he just didn't fancy going to Saudi. He changed his mind and wanted to play for Atletico Madrid, which again, I give massive respects for. I'll be honest now, the tide, well, in my eyes, the tide seems to be turning now against the Saudi League. A lot of players are choosing to stay in Europe, but I think they actually want to stay and fight for trophies and, have European pedigree. Right, staying with La Liga, we've got Nico Williams now. He was a very sought-after player. Arsenal are after him, Barcelona are after him, and the club he almost signed for, but they didn't get him, is Bayern Munich. Now, it's been very well documented. Bayern Munich want a left winger. Kingsley Coman's left. He's now joined Al Nassr, funnily enough. That's been confirmed today. Sane's left on a free to Galatasaray. Williams signed a really big contract with Athletic Bilbao, which again, I rate the loyalty, to be honest. I've forgotten the terms of the contract, but it was apparently quite lucrative. And you know what? If you want to keep your best players, this is what you got to do. You got to go big. You got to show how much the player means to the club, and they've done that, and he signed a very lucrative long-term contract. Last but not least, sorry Newcastle, I'm not letting you off the hook. Benjamin Sesko, as we know, ended up joining Man United for around 85 million euros, I think it was. I don't know how that is in pounds, probably like 70-80 million. I don't know what's happening at Newcastle this year. I don't know what the players are seeing when they go in there, because they're not ending up there. It's really strange. Like I said in previous entries, got European football, got a good manager, a good squad, but players just ain't picking them. Benjamin Sesko's gone to Man United. Obviously, we're yet to see what he's going to be. He could be the goal scorer they've been needing, or he could be another Rasmus Højlund. And obviously, they are, thinking of getting Højlund off the books. He's very much linked with AC Milan at the moment. But yeah, it's another big miss for Newcastle, and he could have been really good. He's also going to be the Isak replacement, which is why Isak's not being sold. But that is the end of the video, guys. What do you think of these failed transfers? Were they correct to choose other clubs? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have I missed any? Your comments are always welcome down below. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and give us a listen. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials. And until the next one, guys, see you later.